Tonight, an unfolding catastrophe in Asheville, North Carolina. Homes and buildings swept away by raging floodwaters that have submerged the town.
It's beyond anything I've ever seen in my lifetime.
Parts of the town not underwater, completely cut off.
Somebody on a Facebook post said something about having to fly out of Asheville because you can't drive out of Asheville.
That extreme.
Yeah.
With no power and no cell service, crowds formed outside this hotel, one of the only places in town with working Wi-Fi.
We've been just trying to get on as much as we can and either get an email or a text out and just let everybody know that we're okay.
We met up with Cindy Tran, her forever home, a self-described oasis, ravaged by the cresting French Broad River nearby.
The water came up so quick, halfway up to the second floor. We thought the way it just kept rising so fast, it was going to get to the second floor, so we had to get out.
A similar scene in the town of Chimney Rock, virtually wiped off the map by floodwaters.
Chimney Rock's gone. Flying Bridge is gone.
Meanwhile, the heavy rains triggering a massive mudslide that washed out this stretch of I-40, a major highway connecting western and eastern parts of the state. One bit of good news, two dams that were in danger of collapse, the Nolichucky and Lake Lure dams, now appear to be okay as water levels slowly recede. Helene's flooding rains bringing devastation to Tennessee as well. In Irwin, the scene of this dramatic rescue. Patients and staff rushing to the roof as floodwaters engulf the Unicoi County Hospital. Boats and helicopters converging to quickly get them to safety.
I was very concerned that we was going to lose the hospital.
In South Carolina, crews dug this tree off a car. Strong winds leaving more than 1 million people there without power. Back in Asheville, residents resorting to kayaks to get around flooded streets as they figure out how to move forward.
Are you okay?
I will be. I'm every now and then. I was fine yesterday, believe it or not, but now, like today, things have been settling in and I just can't stop crying.
Although the water has started to recede, the damage is already done, and with more potential rain in the forecast, people here just don't know how much more they can take.
Wow. Hello, everyone. It is Monday and it's time for Pop and Politics. We are talking about the latest in hot topics, news, and entertainment. I'm KJ, along with my amazing co-hosts. Of course, we have Shelly E.
Hi.
And Tyrone Keys is back with us. Today's Monday from Soldiers of Finance. How are you all doing tonight?
Doing
Great.
Good. Well, we're going to get into the devastation of Hurricane Helene. Before we do that, I want to say please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We are on YouTube right here and then also on Rumble. You can listen to us as well on Apple Podcasts or Spotify under the name Pop and Politics. Here on YouTube, your super chats and donations go a long way in helping us produce conservative content. Any amount is appreciated. Guys, this is not just a podcast. This is a movement of God-fearing, truth-seeking, America-loving people that understand we are living in urgent times. There's a target on our backs because we value freedom. Stand with us, subscribe so we can amplify this rallying call for freedom. All right, folks, let's set it off. We want to get right into the devastating Hurricane Helene. So as you guys saw, at least 30 people have died in just one North Carolina county after this weekend's historic flooding from this hurricane devastated the southeastern states. Helene made landfall on Thursday night as a Category 4 storm, striking Florida's Big Bend region and moving north through the American South. The death toll across Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia rose to 91 by Sunday evening. I think now it's actually over 100 people.
Yeah, it is.
So, as Hurricane Helene's impact continues to be felt, the states are turning to FEMA, the agency responsible for the federal response to hurricanes, to ask whether or not it has what it needs to deal with the storm. FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell says, and I quote, according to Fox News, "We absolutely have enough resources from across the federal family." She says on Face the Nation on Sunday, FEMA is one part of the team, and we have the ability to bring in all of our team members from many other federal agencies to support this response. President Trump announced he would visit Valdosta, Georgia, to distribute relief supplies in the wake of the hurricane. Here is what President Joe Biden said to the press today. This is clip 5.
Yes, it's tragic. As a matter of fact, we're trying to get the exact number. My FEMA advisor is on the ground in Florida right now. There's a distinction between the numbers that FEMA's used and the ones that are used by the locals. So it really is amazing. You saw the photographs. It's stunning.
It's unbelievable. But
it really is.
Such a wide area.
And we've given them all everything that we have. We're on the ground ahead of time, so we're working hard.
Are there any more resources the federal government could be giving them?
No, we've given them, we have pre-planned a significant amount of it, even though they didn't ask for it yet, hadn't asked for it yet.
All right, Shelley, so he said he's given them all that he has. What are your thoughts on his response here and the response so far?
First, again, I want to say my heart and prayers go out to all of those people, their families, number one. Number two, when you see how hellacious Helene has been, at least it makes me count your blessings, name them one by one, right? So number three, Joe Biden had that same damn shirt on Friday on The View. That shirt and that jacket. Now, I know presidents, they probably have a wardrobe of many white shirts and jackets, things that look similarly, but he had that same one on Friday. Number four, equally important is what I'm not blaming. Don't get me wrong. I'm not blaming the president. I'm not blaming the people who live on these coasts. What I don't quite understand is how FEMA, all about engineers. I'm not an engineer. Many of these tornadoes and hurricanes are predictable. Why can we not use all of this infrastructure to build up the walls, the dams, well in advance, maybe even, I don't know, months or years in advance, because these events are fairly predictable. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah, what about you, Tyrone, the response from Biden and then your reaction to this hurricane devastation?
Well, certainly want to echo Shelley and many others. It's tragedy. I hope no more lives are lost. I hope everybody's able to recover sooner rather than later. This demonstrates why you have to have a president who is sharp, on the ball, capable, okay? And Biden is not. I actually remember this. I was a child, but my grandfather was always plugged into politics. 3 Mile Island had a near meltdown. And President Carter, he went there with his wife, Rosalind, walked through 3 Mile Island, was in the control room demonstrating confidence, letting calming the country, that sort of thing. It's nothing new to see presidents on the ground when these types of things happen. Of course, we know Biden is not capable of that mentally or physically, sadly. But it demonstrates why we need someone who is capable. And Trump is demonstrating that. He's not even the president.
Yeah, I totally agree. When you juxtapose his reaction to this hurricane devastation, and then the fact that just last week, he announced $8 billion in military assistance to Ukraine. It was last Thursday. I mean, this is why conservatives and then some on the middle have been screaming about all of this money, our hard-earned tax dollars, going to this ridiculous war that we should not be doing. Again, in what may well be his last package he greenlit before leaving office, we're talking $8 billion. This is the 66th equipment package Biden's administration has provided to Ukraine, a war that we should not even be involved in, should never have happened if he had not been so weak and just exhibited weakness across the international stage. So it's
Right.
like a slap in the face. We have people who lost their homes, all of their belongings, their lives. And we're seeing that this federal government has decided to continue to give money to Ukraine, and we don't have the money needed to give to our own people.
Exactly. Very similar. We have money to give to illegals in, New York and Chicago, California. We have money to put them in posh hotels, certainly semi-posh hotels, to send their children to school, to give them money on cards every month that our veterans and certainly the people in the coast, they don't get. Remember in Hawaii, was it last year with the fires? Mm-hmm. Those people got what? All of $800 or less?
Yeah,
pretty much.
And then we see the video and the reports of, they're in Pennsylvania last week with Zelensky signing these military bombs that are going over to Ukraine. Meanwhile, we all know that Zelensky lives a life as a multimillionaire in Ukraine. I mean, they have cars. His wife is rich. I mean, this is what we're talking about. So our money is going to fund their lifestyles and this illegitimate war. I mean,
the lifestyles of the rich and famous on the American taxpayers' dime. These, again, when I'm on here talking about less government, I really mean less government. But I do usually say there is a place for limited and very focused purposes for government. FEMA, when you have disasters, is one of them. And not only that, FEMA should not only be seemingly a reactionary entity. They have enough smart people, engineers, doctorates and things, people with advanced degrees to be able to, again, prep up shore up these coasts and these areas where it's predictable that these storms will hit pretty severely.
Yeah, and it's just absolutely disgusting to see American policymakers signing munitions that are going to go into Russia. Okay. I mean, it's insane, actually, because what they're doing is they're flirting with a world war. All right. China and Russia, they just had joint naval exercises up in the waters off Alaska. All right. A Russian fighter jet today buzzed an American military plane. So the tensions are heating up. And you would think the Biden administration would want to calm things down with the world's largest nuclear power, but they just keep on antagonizing them.
I agree. Before we move on, I do want to acknowledge our super chatter here, Common Sense, with the $5 super chat. Says, what is the UN perpetrating now? Good topics tonight. Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate that, guys. We certainly appreciate your super chats. They go a long way in helping us produce conservative content. So I really thank you for that. Yeah, I agree. And, that leads me to this rally that happened this weekend, Rescue the Republic. So this rally was brought on by RFK Jr., people, Jordan Peterson, who else was there? Dr. Robert Malone, several people were at this rally this weekend in DC, and they were talking about some of this stuff. They were talking about this military industrial complex that we have going on right now in our country, fueled by this Biden administration and the left, and will continue if we have Kamala Harris in office. But it's this idea that they've created this war that we shouldn't be in. We're assisting Ukraine. We shouldn't even be there. And who knows really where this money is going? I mean, yeah, we really don't know. I mean, 66 amounts of money that they did. We sent money over there 66 times within the last several years. That's a lot of money. And, for you guys who didn't get a chance to go, we did. Some of the ladies, I went, and Yana was at this rally. And let me tell you, it was a very diverse crowd. I mean, you had your hippie kind of RFK people, and then you had MAGA people there, but everyone coming together to say, we want to stand up for truth. We want to stop this military industrial complex. We want to stop the censorship, stop the medical industrial complex. And I want to bring you just a quick video from that. This is clip number 9. Take a look at one of the speakers.
There's something critical you need to know about the American food system. It affects all of our lives and has been overlooked for decades. Our government is letting U.S. food companies get away with serving American citizens harmful ingredients that are banned or heavily regulated in other countries. Even worse, American food companies are selling the same product overseas without these chemicals, but choose to serve us the most toxic version. One set of ingredients over there and another one here. Let me give you some examples. This is McDonald's French fries from the United States. It has 11 ingredients, but in the UK, there's only 4, and salt is optional. This one has an ingredient called dimethylpolysiloxane, and that can be preserved with formaldehyde, a neurotoxin, and just happens to be the first ingredient in silly putty. This is United States Fanta right here. It's made with high fructose corn syrup, artificial dye, yellow 6, red 40, and sodium benzenate. In the UK, they have real orange juice inside, and it's colored with carrots and pumpkin.
Wow. Let me tell you, I know personally that this is correct. When you travel to the Caribbean, a bottle of ketchup will just be tomatoes and maybe some salt or whatever. Here, that same bottle, you have to buy organic firstly to get it without all of the extra stuff. But you see high fructose corn syrup, all types of stuff added into these items here in the U.S. Folks, they are killing us. They are trying to kill us. What are your thoughts here, Shelley?
Well, a lot of Americans, thankfully, are waking up and have been waking up. And again, over time, I'm not saying all this to criticize anyone, because if you do a little by little, starting to change your diet, eating better, I think you'll feel better. And then you become, quote unquote, woke, right? The food pyramid that the American public has put forth for decades. Then it was replaced by the My Plate system. Those systems have been wrong, and I contend they have been deadly and dangerous. Look at our obesity rates. Look at our diabetes. America, we're supposedly we pay the most, if you will, but corporately for health insurance, but we are some of the sickest people. We're getting fatter, diabetes, congestive heart failure, all kinds of respiratory illnesses. And not only that, not for adults, for younger and younger people at earlier ages, diseases that they would never see, certainly not in teenage and young years.
Yeah. Tyrone, what are your thoughts on this whole idea? Like I mentioned, this Rescue the Republic, it's kind of a situation where their slogan has been MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. Of course, MAGA from Trump, Make America Great Again. But when I saw so many of those different factions coming together, and many people are rallying behind President Trump now that RFK, Tulsi Gabbard, and many people like them have endorsed him. And you're seeing these two groups come together for one basic principle. We want the truth. We want just truth.
Yeah, I think we all remember growing up. There was one guy in our circle of little guys when we were young he was a big guy. He was we would call him fat. Okay. Mark. But Mark had one hell of a cardiovascular system. I mean, he could do whatever anyone else could do, right? But we don't see the level of activity in terms of just getting out and about like we used to in Americans. We don't even see kids, outside riding their bikes around or doing the things that we did. They've got a lot of other distractions that keep them in a chair focused on a computer screen for a large portion of their day. So I think that's a component that needs to be talked about as well, is our level of activity. Now, look, that another lie Shelley was talking about, the food pyramid and the food plate, is the BMI. That's another, lie that they've been telling. According to the BMI, I'm probably morbidly obese. Okay.
Well, not necessarily BMI. It would be, I thought the BMI is what actually gives us the correct weight that we're supposed to be.
Not necessarily. It doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I think that.
What's the difference then? What would be the correct weight?
Because it only. Go ahead, Tyrone.
Is there a correct one? Some people are going to be more rotund than others. Some people are going to be taller. But I think that at the end of the day, in the final analysis, it's how healthy are you for your weight, for your height. And I think that needs to also go hand in hand with Kennedy's initiative of getting all of these additives out of the food. Because look, I'm not doing it tonight, but most nights when we have the live stream, I'm drinking something and it's lime juice and water, because we've got to be particularly concerned about our liver and kidneys. Everything, even down to what we breathe, is filtered through our kidneys, our liver. So we've got to be particularly careful about that. And I think that there's an awakening happening on many levels, one of them being health.
Right. I want to just follow up with KJ about many people. You're not necessarily wrong as far as the BMI. The BMI is one measure. It's not the most important. For instance, you can take let's take football players. Now we know that they are healthy. Many of them are solid muscles, but many of them would be over the recommended BMI, but they are fit, muscle, tall, some of them are short, of course, whatever. But by and large, they are some of the healthiest people that we know. BMI can be used as a gauge, if you will. It should not be used as the end all be all.
Right. Yeah. I agree there to some point. But like you all mentioned, bottom line is it's this food. I mean, you can continue to work out and things like that. But if you are putting these toxins in your body, such as this high fructose corn syrup, this artificial sweetener, artificial flavoring, canola oils, all of these vegetable oils and things like that, that they're putting in the food, and it's not needed to be there. We continue to do this, and no matter how much you exercise, it's gonna affect us, and we're seeing it's affecting kids. I mean, the artificial sweeteners and coloring are not good for boys. Young boys. They cause anything from ADHD. Studies have shown ADHD to even just aggressiveness in boys, and we see that they push these items in public schools across the country. So we do need to really watch out for this and start to push back against it. So That's why I'm really excited about this Maha movement, because it's also tied to pharmaceuticals, to the, as you mentioned, Shelley, the big sugar, and all this is addictive, you know.
Listen,
and they're just doing it for money. It's money.
Look, the reason you find high fructose corn syrup in so many products is because the U.S. government subsidizes the production of corn. Mm-hmm. So right. It's a money thing. Okay, let's just find ways to use this corn, like with the whole ethanol thing in gasoline. That's another subsidization of the corn crop. We're trying to be like Brazil with that, but Brazil uses ethanol from sugarcane, not from corn. The other thing I would like to say to the fellas too, to those fellas who are not aware, you better get that soy out of your diet, because that is, if you look at testosterone levels over time, it explains to you why we have a lot of the things going on in this country right now that we have going on. Okay, so I would encourage the fellas to go get a testosterone test kit, take a look at it, and then get the soy out of your diet, watch a Rocky movie, and turn things around.
Right. Yeah, I do want to acknowledge our super chatters here, guys. Thank you so much. Certainly appreciate you. We have here Common Sense again. Says avoid factory food, processed food, focus on the natural foods, for the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Paul Carrick, $9.99 super chat, says appreciate
your show and coming out of
your show. Come out of Blue Maryland is needed. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. You're right. Tijuana Border Jumper again. Thank you so much. Says thanks for sharing the truth. Love your content with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much.
And look, I wanted to say this, KJ. Two things. I remember growing up, you all probably can attest to this. The mantra, if you will, was everything in moderation, right? Mm-hmm. We weren't wealthy, but we still couldn't eat at McDonald's every day. That was a treat, right? It wasn't that you could never have it. It was a treat, right? We had fresh vegetables, and they were not organic. We didn't buy organic, but we had fresh vegetables that were cooked on Saturday night for Sunday dinner, right? Foods like that. So we had more of that than the opposite. Number two, if you don't believe what we're saying, fine, fact check us, right? But I know plenty of people who are one test of this in the hospital talking about diabetes. In the hospitals, when you are diabetic, what do you get? You get all of this insulin, right? Not only do they give you insulin out the yin yang, they give you, they can't stop you because most time you're adults, but they give you so much food that's not good for you. Well, what is the food going to do? It's going to drive your blood sugar up, right? Which is supposed to happen when you eat, but then they're going to give you the insulin. So your body is constantly doing this. It can't find its own homeostatic balance to even figure out what to do the right way with the food that it intakes. So again, that drives up healthcare costs. You're going to need insulin, and they're going to tell you, oh, well, you need insulin. How about helping them to eat better?
Yeah, and you're right. But this is why we see that they do this. Again, the pharmaceutical companies, who's getting money for this insulin that they're providing. And so on and so forth. I see a lot of people. We got a ton of people in the chat tonight. Can you guys just shout out where you're from? I know we get people from all over the country. I see Texas in there. I have some Maryland people. If you could just shout out, I would just love to know where you guys are from in the chat. Just say where you guys are hailing from across the country or even the world, and we'll post them here on the reading here. You guys are all right. I mean, this is crazy. So we have another super chat here. Vita for the $2 super chat says, how do we contact you? Love your critical thinking. Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, Vita. We just, we have the
email address
here, and there's a contact form right on the website. So you can find us at www.popandpoliticslive.com. And you can find us there. So yeah, but like I said, post where you guys are coming from. I want to just know what's going on across the country. Are you finding these things in your food and additives and things like that across the country? Where are you shopping for natural items? That's what I want to know.
Look, I'm guilty of this. we have a snacking culture too. Now, when I was coming up, we didn't do that. You know, we didn't do that. The refrigerator we have in our house today, and I'm sure you all can agree, could fit 2 of the refrigerators that were in the house I grew up in. Okay. Right. You could actually, if I was down on my luck, you could bury me in this refrigerator, right? And still have room to spare. So we've got this food culture, and I'm not bucking abundance. I'm very grateful to live in the United States, but we got to be more disciplined with, you know, what we eat, how much exercise we get. So a lot of this is also an educational process for we the people, in addition to tackling the things that RFK is bringing up.
Right. That's why I don't want to beat people up. You're right, Tyrone, because just like we have learned bad habits, we have to unlearn and replace them with good habits. And it's not going to happen all at once. It doesn't happen overnight. This is why I'm not beating people up. So again, if you can start with like intermittent fasting, it's good for your liver and your kidneys, right? If you can start with reducing one meal or whatever it may be, replacing a piece of fruit or some water with one of your drinks, over time, you will develop better habits.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that, Pamela. Yep. We just hit 100,000 subscribers. So certainly appreciate you all for riding with us and continuing to share, like, and subscribe. Certainly appreciate you all. All right. So speaking of intermittent fasting and cutting down on the food, folks, we may have to do a lot more cutting down. Have you guys been following this U.S. port strike that is apparently coming our way? Every port from Maine to Texas will shut down at midnight if a deal is not reached between the International Longshoremen's Association, ILA, and the United States Maritime Alliance. The ILA said it is fighting for fairer wages for its workers and greater protections against automation and generative AI. So this would be the first strike port on the East Coast since 1977. The strike has the potential to affect everything from medical supplies at hospitals to holiday wish lists. So remember, folks, we're going from this devastating Hurricane Helene that has hit everything across the South to now this potential strike that, as of about 8:00 p.m., I think it's still going. It still may be going.
In negotiations, I get.
Yeah, it's still in negotiations. So what are your thoughts on this, Shelley?
Let me say it this way. If this was a private company, I wouldn't have no problems. But this is on taxpayers' dimes largely. I do believe that I'm not for public unions, if you will, because taxpayers are funding them to strike against us. So I mean, it's not going to be good for the taxpayers. I think our president, what's his name again? Biden. I read earlier that he said that, you know, he's not going to go and get in because why? Because he needs the labor unions donations to fund his own daggone party and Pact for Kamala Harris. So this is definitely not a good deal for Americans and taxpayers. I hope it does not happen because I don't want to see more people. The Gulf is already hit by Helene, right? These ports are going to bring more devastation. People are going to be out of work. These are homes and people who are just overrun by this flood. It's going to be all around a mess, and that's putting it lightly.
What are your thoughts on this, Tyrone, with this strike that we see that looks like the negotiations are still ongoing?
Well, I tell you what, if the strike does happen, then that will be the trifecta of inflation because that we will realize fewer goods and services. The supply chain disruption will cause us to be able to receive fewer goods and services. We have a cousin that is in Asheville, North Carolina. She works at a grocery store. And she was just telling us just before the show that the grocery warehouse is flooded. And her store will not receive another shipment for a month. Okay. So you got the storm, you got the strike, and Jerome Powell just lowered interest rates. So when you lower interest rates, inflation tends to go in the other direction. So this could be, I mean, like she needs any more bad news. This could be extremely bad for Kamala Harris, because in the short term, we're going to see shortages. And when you have the same amount of demand and less supply, you get higher prices.
Yeah, I do. Before we go on, I do want to acknowledge another super chat here. All right, thank you so much, Mark. Says, love my lady as always. Thank you. And Mark is part of our Freedom Seekers Club, so certainly appreciate you for that as well. Guys, if you haven't done so, please join our Freedom Seekers Club. You get tons of perks there when you join, special emojis. We send out video and content just to our members only, and much more. So certainly check us out there. So we actually here in Baltimore have one of the largest ports in the country, right here in Baltimore. I do have longshoremen who are part of that, and I did reach out to them today. Guys, we're in this is going to be major, because what's going on here is what was relayed to me is the thing that sparked this strike. It wasn't so much the $5 increase that they're requesting. It was because in Canada, they are automating many of the trucks, the jobs that longshoremen do. They're trying to do some type of automation. And so what would happen with this automation is then longshoremen and people that work on the port would get laid off. And so the U.S. longshoremen are pushing back against this automation because they know that they're going to lose jobs. Right. So we kind of talked about this last year. We heard a lot of people were talking about how they were trying to automate not only the ports, but the trucking industry at a whole. I know we have a lot of truck drivers that listen to us, but truck drivers were calling in on talk radio and all kinds of things, talking about how they're supposed to be automating a lot of their jobs. And it looks like this is what they're trying to do. And so this is what kind of sparked this, what do you call it?
This strike and
the strike. And then of course they were asking for increased wages. So, I mean, I definitely don't want to strike. I mean, because of what we can, they're talking about this thing is going to cause all kinds of major issues. Like you were saying, Tyrone, with food, gas, all types of shortages. So I do encourage you guys to go to the grocery store. But in the same way, I understand it. I certainly do, because I am against automation, on this type of stuff. I'm against it. So
these are, again, remember during the scamdemic, these elitists, they basically facilitated and chose what they thought were essential jobs and essential personnel. We're about to see who is really and what jobs are really essential. I love truckers. When I'm driving on the highway, I like to, blow my horn and just say hi and say thank you in the rest stops, things like that, because America moves on truckers.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I wanted to ask you, Tyrone, because you mentioned, inflation, and is this because we have people who were talking about price gouging? So would price gouging happen? And how can you talk about that?
Price gouging is a phenomenon. Okay, it has happened. However, when you raise your prices as a result of the price you pay to get the item, that's not price gouging. That is the law of supply and demand. So if, for example, Saudi Arabia says we're going to cut back on oil production, all right, it's a global market. So the demand has remained the same, but there's less of it. So people are going to bid that price up. Okay. That is just a natural phenomenon, a natural economic phenomenon. But I would like to say that with regard to the strike, they are so right to stand firm. And look, even though we might realize some disruption, we have to, as middle-class folk, we have to stand behind them no matter how long it takes. And the reason for that is because in the mid to late 19th century, there were 21 million horses in America. Okay. They were doing all kinds of work, travel, farming, all kinds of things. They even had them employed in wars. All right. When the automobile was invented, then, you know, not only did you see human beings go from manufacturing carriages and cultivating horses, you saw them go to factories. But you saw the horse pretty much disappear. There are 9 million horses in America today. That's less than half of what we had before the automobile. When we talk about AI, okay, when we talk about AI, we're not the human, we're the horse, okay, in that equation. So they need to stand firm. We got to stand behind them.
Yeah, and not only that, but again, we're back to globalization. What do people think when they start automating all this stuff? They want to automate many of these things, not just to lower prices and things like that, but it's for globalization. Because if something is automated, whether I'm here or whether I'm in I don't know, Israel, I can control it. Right. You know, I can forget who was telling me about this. Somebody had a friend. Somebody was telling me about this yesterday at the at the rally. How they had a friend who had a one of those new Teslas. You know, the ones that look like a spaceship. And so it was in a foreign country, and apparently they had jimmied this vehicle. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. I can't remember the name of the truck, but it's those ones that look really like octagonal, like an octagon.
Cybertruck.
Cybertruck. Yeah, they had a Cybertruck. And apparently this person was a multimillionaire, had made the Cybertruck where it had some type of military style gun on top of this Cybertruck. And I guess it got wind to Tesla, and they made this truck inoperable from wherever they were. So they just stopped all mechanical operations within the truck. This is where they want many of us to be going forward. This is dangerous. Now, again, do I want somebody with an AK on top of their truck? Not really, but I do.
Don't be so hasty.
I do.
You may not want that in 2024, but give it a couple of years.
Right. I do. But I definitely don't want the idea of mass production of these types of vehicles where they can stop my usage, you know, no matter where I am, no matter where I go. But this is what they're doing here in Baltimore City tonight. Actually, our mayor is putting forth a city council amendment or a law that outlaws gas-powered blowers. It's about to pass. If it hasn't done so,
it will.
Yeah. So again, we're seeing all this type of stuff all across the country from these leftists, these authoritarians. This is what they're trying to do. Yet they tell us Trump is the fascist.
People, the left typically does not understand how the world works.
Nope.
They really have this idea that electricity is like magical, okay, in that it comes from nowhere. When in fact, fossil fuels still are the majority source behind electrical generation in this country. Okay. Not only that, when this Hurricane Helene came through, electric cars and bicycles demonstrated a very serious design issue. When water hits that battery, it can cause a tremendous fire, in some cases explosion. Okay. And that's something that we're seeing that's like, we've never seen that before. Okay.
Right.
Also, guys, the electric car is nothing new. The electric car predates the popularity of the internal combustion engine car. It just, for whatever reason, it didn't catch on, probably because the electrical infrastructure wasn't there at the time. And it's still not here now.
Right.
It's still not. Right. You're right.
All of these bans, like you mentioned, the gas blower, cars, and it's not just the Tesla. These smart cars, this is, again, I think is part of a bigger agenda. It's all about power and control. Remember, you will own nothing and you will be happy. You will not be able to take your little happy ass no further than 100 feet or whatever it may be around your community. You want to work from home only. Every camera is going to know where you go, how much you drive, you know, what you're spending on your credit card, whatever. This is all about control.
Absolutely. You guys, I do want to acknowledge a new member of the Freedom Seekers Club, Vita. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. Certainly appreciate you there. And guys, if you want more of this information, this financial, economical information, definitely check out Tyrone on his YouTube channel, Soldiers of Finance, where he's giving all this information. Right, Tyrone?
Absolutely. Thank you.
And guess who is not getting rid of their coal and fossil fuels?
Well, China. Russia.
Right. They're not getting
Right.
rid of theirs.
No, not at all. But speaking of this type of stuff, this takes us to the UN Summit of the Future. So world leaders gathered last week. I believe it was Thursday, might have been September 22nd. Okay, for the UN Summit of the Future, which according to their website aims to forge a new international consensus on how we deliver a better present and safeguard the future. So this thing it's really diabolical, you guys. And if you have everything that they're doing, they make it explicitly clear online. You can certainly check out if you go to un.org. But the summit held 3 separate agreements. One was the Pact of the Future, one was the Declaration of Future Generations, and then one, which is the most concerning in my opinion, was the Global Digital Compact. Have you been following this, Shelley? What are your thoughts?
I've been reading I saw some of the footage, and I've been reading some of these, whatever you call them, summits. First of all, they couch all of this language in these glowing, flowery terms, when the bottom line, if you take away all of that, the translation is they want to control your life. They don't want you to have anything. They don't want you to do. They don't want you to build. They want you to control your life. They want you to live in X amount of space that these quote unquote world leaders deem that you should have. And that's all you need. Damn the American Constitution. Okay. This is a world agenda, a world summit. I was writing down, you mentioned the digital plan. KJ, again, give me the bottom line. And the bottom line is this: translation, no privacy, no First Amendment, no U.S. Constitution. And we were just talking about it. Automation. Humans are unnecessary in this world.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this whole thing, Tyrone?
You know, Shelley is absolutely right. And the other angle is a one world government. They are. I mean, you could see this happening right now. They are gradually chipping away at national sovereignty. Okay. Yeah. They're doing it in a variety of ways. For example, right here in America, you see this push to allow non-citizens to vote. Okay. Oh, we're just going to let them vote in local elections. That's just the, foot in the door type of approach. They want to destroy national sovereignty also by flooding the West with immigrants from countries in the developing world that do not share the cultural similarities that we share here in the West. Okay, they don't share the traditions of the cultural traditions, and I'm not saying that people can't, come around to that. But if you see this new wave of immigration, they are not, by and large, interested in assimilation at all. Okay, so it's a move to make a one world government where you think we don't have a say now with these politicians. Oh, you wait until they establish something like that.
Absolutely. And this is what I like about the integration or the coming together of RFK Jr.'s people and MAGA, Trump's people. Trump is the one thing that is standing in the way of the global agenda right now. Folks, wake the hell up. If Trump does not get elected, we will probably never see a Republican in office again. And we know this to be true because the way Kamala Harris has been flip-flopping. So again, with the filibuster, with the idea of banning guns and things like this, she's doing things or advocating to change systems based on who is in office. And right now they're pushing to ban a lot of things and do a lot of things because she believes that once she gets in office, they're going to continue this Democratic regime for quite some time. John Kerry just last week called for the First Amendment. He basically said the First Amendment is a major block to combating misinformation and fighting climate change. So he was at the World Economic Forum panel on green energy last Wednesday, and he says, and I quote, according to Fox News, there's a lot of discussion now about how you curb those entities in order to guarantee that you're going to have some accountability on facts. But look, if people only go to one source and the source they go to is sick and, has an agenda and they're putting out disinformation, our First Amendment stands as a major block to be able to just, hammer it out of existence. Do you understand what this man is saying?
Mm-hmm.
He is. Yeah. I mean, and you see the rhetoric becoming more upfront, more bold. I forget this woman's name. She's some leftist activist. In the last 48 hours, she came out and said Biden needs to abolish the Supreme Court. All right. So these things start as them signaling exactly what they want. And remember, the left, they're always, whatever they're saying you're doing, whatever they're castigating you for, they are doing. So when they say that someone's a threat to democracy, they are. Go back and look, Hillary Clinton, people sat up and took notice when she was asked this question about her book, what happened. They said, well, you got a passage in the book where you talk about the novel 1984. What are your thoughts on that novel? She said, well, I think it's a guide to show us how to trust our government, how to trust the media. Lady, 1984 is not a guide. It's a cautionary tale. But that's how she sees it. That's how they read it and say, oh, this is a roadmap. Okay. So that's what they want. And guys, you all know this, but we have got to tell people, look, Trump got 4 years, and that 4 years is going to go by like that. Right. We got to cultivate some strong folk to come up behind him, because if we don't, the left doesn't stop. They're like a zombie. They just keep getting up. And you have to be in a constant mode to battle that.
Right. You're right. You're absolutely right, Tyrone. I do want to acknowledge another super chatter here. LAPD SWAT, one of our favorite people here. He's one of our regulars, says the timing of the Diddy celebrity arrest just prior to that summit. Strange. Thank you so much for that $5 super chat. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, all of this is really strange. As I mentioned with this, whole, well, first, let me ask you guys, do you think it has anything to do with the Diddy allegations and things?
As a distraction, maybe, but
okay.
Yeah, I don't think anything high profile is ever done without coordination of some kind. Mm-hmm. So I can't really put my finger on exactly what's going on with that, but something is going on with that.
Yeah, I just want to get into this global digital compact again from this UN summit for the future. Again, as I mentioned, it's the scariest one in my opinion. Essentially, it's meant to dramatically increase global governance of AI. So to create a scientific panel on AI at the global level, collaboration with big tech, and all designed to embed AI within the left-wing social justice goal. So what we're seeing them do now, as we know, in the last election, Mark Zuckerberg and Meta was being used to push for, censor people, and they were the ones that said something was disinformation or misinformation. this is going right along with that kind of stuff, hate speech and things like that, but they're going to do it on a global scale, basically provide, promote, and facilitate access to and dissemination of independent, fact-based, timely, targeted, clear, accessible, multilingual science. So it's like Shelley said, it's creating fact-checking systems at the UN, but all based on social justice and the left's ideal. Right. So, I mean, this is, and we talked about this, you guys, if you haven't seen in our latest video, Understanding the Communist Agenda, we talked about this is all part of the social communist agenda that they put out way back in 1943. I have here number 32 on the list of 45 goals of the Communist Party was to support any socialist movement to give centralized control over any part of the culture, education, social agencies, welfare programs, mental health clinics, etc. This is the globalization goal.
Yeah, KJ, you mentioned the digital corporation, and don't get me wrong, as important as that is, one of the things on their UN, what is this called, the Sustainable Development page or whatever, they start off with the idea of this, what do they call these, having no defense, or the area of peace and security. Remember, they make these things sound so innocuous and so like they're so caring, but in order to implement this, the first thing they had to do is get rid of defense systems, i.e. the United States. Since the United States is the largest, the biggest financial supporter to the UN and the WEF. So if you break down, get rid of the defense mechanisms in the United States, get rid of the Constitution, the people won't have a wherewithal to fight back. So therefore, you take that rug from them, if you will, then you can institute all these other things. One other thing I want to mention, please fact check us. We were talking a few minutes ago about the food systems being corrupted, basically, right? Mm-hmm. The UN is also behind the Dutch farmers losing their farms. Now, many of us don't think about the Netherlands too much. We think of it this small country in Europe, you know, with a lot of liberal ideals, right? But as far as farms go, the Dutch are the second largest farm producers in the world. World.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And what you talked about with the Constitution, number 45 on this list of communist goals is to repeal the Connolly Reservation so the U.S. cannot prevent the World Court from seizing jurisdiction over domestic problems. Give the World Court jurisdiction over domestic problems. Give the World Court jurisdiction over domestic problems. And that would, of course, subvert our Constitution, end representation of sovereign government as we know it. So, just as you said, yeah. So I do want to acknowledge another super chatter here. Vita, thank you so much. She says, Cat Williams is not clairvoyant. He said, collects information, knowledge, and secrets. He is going after the people who killed his mentor since he was 12 years old, Prince. Yeah, he was his mentor. That's really good catch there with the $10 super chat. Thank you, Vita.
Thank you.
Yeah. And when you say
all of these things tie together, go ahead, Tyron. I'm sorry.
Well, when you, Shelley, when you say that they want centralized control of all aspects of the culture, you see that in, going back to the Sean Combs thing. There is an element of control. You just can't break into that industry. You could be the best vocalist that ever lived, okay? But unless you play ball with the characters that are orchestrated at a very high level, that's another area you just can't break into. And you will not come out with any positive rap album like The Message or like Self-Destruction. That's not going mainstream today. And the industry will make sure of it. But what will go straight to number one is anything with misogynistic lyrics, encouraging you to put yourself in the crosshairs of the criminal justice system, and also killing your fellow man. That'll go straight to number one, literally with a bullet.
Yeah, you're right, Tyrone. And all of those things are the demonic, the satanic. And as we mentioned, I tell you guys, definitely check out our video we put out, Understanding the Communist Agenda in the 21st Century, on our channel. We did a deep dive in this. One of the things, communism, Marxism, Karl Marx was the father, or that they call, of Marxism, and he was a Satanist. He was a Satanist. And this is what they're pushing, to subvert our culture, to subvert anything pure and innocent. That goes with the children, that goes with education, all those things. They are trying to keep us under their thumb, and the food. Because what do you think these additives that they put, this artificial fake stuff in the food, it dumbs us down. You know, I'm a big advocate of the fluoride. You know, the studies have shown fluoride in toothpaste is not good for children to use or ingest. It numbs the mind. It dumbs us down. Many of the things they are throwing in the food dumbs us down. And this is what they want us to do. So.
Well, KJ, to your point about children, lest we are remiss, the UN agenda has something for children too. And primarily, again, if you bottom line it, it basically means that your children don't belong to you. They are children of the world. So again, all of this can tie together. I know we probably sound like conspiracy nuts to a lot of people. Maybe we do, but don't take our word for it. Go and connect the dots yourself.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And anybody that's still on this thing where they're using the words conspiracy theorists as a pejorative, listen, they told you it was swamp gas 50 years ago. Now they're telling you it's UFOs. So you're behind the curve, not us. Okay.
Right. And you know, the term conspiracy theory, I believe it was first talked about or created after Kennedy's assassination. That's when the FBI started to push out this idea of conspiracy theory, because people were linking his assassination, I shouldn't say that, but it's unaliving, to
assassination. What the hell is unaliving? I don't know why they use that word. It's assassination.
Hold on there, cowpoke.
Yeah.
We gotta stay on the platform.
Right.
Oh, is that why? I'm sorry. I was saying it because I'm tired of these woke people changing the language. That's what I was saying.
No, it's just for this. It's just for this.
Oh,
but
okay.
It became relevant due to that Kennedy information. This is when it first was put out in the kind of vocabulary. Right. And now we're seeing they're still trying to change the vocabulary and put this social justice, DEI wording. So we gotta stay in touch, we have to continue to stay vigilant. We have to stay vigilant. Right. But you get
part of being vigilant is looking at these systems. I encourage everybody, go look at the church committee hearings. Okay. A long time ago, they proved that the CIA was all up in media. Okay. So when you read that and when you understand that, you will know that Hollywood, the music industry, the news industry, they have been co-opted, and you're being fed a worldview that is in line with agendas, not in line with reality.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of these agendas, we know the left has an agenda, and one person that is continuing to push this agenda is Hillary Clinton. Take a look at this interview she gave recently. This is clip number 2.
The press needs a consistent narrative. I mean, the press that's not supporting Trump blatantly, very persistently, the press that's trying to be the press, be objective, be, reporting the facts. The press needs a consistent narrative about the danger that Trump poses. Because,
What? You see this? Who is she? Who is she to say that? The press is not supposed to push one narrative. What are your thoughts on this, Shelley?
Hillary, first of all, she's lying. The press has been biased against Donald J. Trump since 2015, okay, when he started running. They have called this man, listen to this. Can you put that clip up if you mind, producer, please? They have called this man a dictator. He has been called a threat to democracy. He's been said to have mental illness. He has dementia. He's a Russian asset. Tell me where the media has been supporting him. This is a part of her propaganda. This is nothing more than a lie that she is putting forth. Because why? Because she's afraid, like the left, they're afraid that he's going to win.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they know he's going to win, and she's really playing her hand. You know, oh, they need a narrative. What, Hillary, like Russian collusion? Like
Right.
that whole thing that you tried it out and wasted America's time on? So, you know, this is a bitter old bag who really needs to go somewhere and bake an apple pie and enjoy her grandkids. I mean, the lust for power. Here you are, lady, with more time in the rear view than in the windshield, and you just can't let go. It's just really disturbing. But DC is filled with people like this.
Yeah, and then speaking of their narratives, their agenda against men. They're trying to recreate the idea of male and masculinity. Take a look at this interview with Jen Psaki did recently with Kamala Harris's husband. This is clip 3.
Important part, an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny. I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this. And to me, it's...
Yeah, Tyrone, I want to start with you on this one. Is he supposed to be the example of masculinity and maleness now?
I guess so. I mean, I grew up in the 80s, and we had Carl Weathers and Mr. T and Arnold and Sly. And I swear, and I'm not, you ask any young guy who grew up during that era, and I said this earlier, you watch a Rocky movie, after that, you're doing some push-ups, okay? You're running around the reservoir, right? It's end-stage empires all have a few similar characteristics. Androgyny and a watering down of masculinity is one of those things. And that actually contributes to empires eventually getting their asses kicked by cultures who are not observing that. Okay, like in this case, the Russians and the Chinese. All right, as much as feminists would like to believe, look, Gloria Steinem didn't storm the beaches of Normandy. Okay, Gloria Steinem did not put her foot on the surface of the moon, not knowing what would happen when she jumped out of that craft. Okay, it is what it is. And women better be careful, because if Kamala is elected, we're going into war with Russia. And they've already signaled that they want to give you ladies a whole bunch of diversity, equity, and inclusion on the front lines. Okay. So, yeah, if he's the new symbol of masculinity in America, then yeah, we're in trouble.
Yeah, before I get your comments on this, Shelly, I want to acknowledge our super chatters. Guys, thank you so much. We have Vita with the $2 super chat. She says, India uses Coca-Cola on crops to kill pesticides. Wow. I don't even drink Coca-Cola, so I stopped there a long time ago. Thank you so much, Vita. All right.
Donald Trump got another one. Donald Trump helped Jesse Jackson's presidential run.
Oh, that was her. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize the two different ones. Yes. Thank you, Vita. Thank you so much. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Vita here again. Yep. She says, take a college Black history course.
Okay.
Thank you. $2 super chat talking about the inclusion of critical race theory and DEI within these African-American history courses. Yes, indeed. Sylvia with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much.
Sylvia.
Yes.
Well, look, you know, Tyrone, you will so appreciate this. Star Trek told us this however many years ago, and they were already in the 21st and 22nd century, right? I love Star Trek: The Next Generation, so Data is the character that comes to mind. You know, they already told us this, that this is what was going to happen. So people, you know, people poo-poo Star Trek. I love the originals. I love the Next Generation, but this is, it's coming to for war. It's coming to reality. All of these things that we have been told about. Similarly to what was the Will Smith movie? Him and Gene Hackman, Enemy of the State.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Put all these things together. You know, is it art imitating life, or is it life imitating art?
Yeah, it's scary times, guys. And we were just talking about this UN summit of the future, and the idea of them talking about all this AI. This is coming, and they're preparing us by this whole androgynous culture push, as you mentioned, Tyrone. It's the idea of forging robot with human. And so when you think about that, this is why we're getting pushed this transgender, they want to get rid of gender altogether and kind of give us this androgyny, because when you think about the forging of human and robot, there's no gender there. When you think about the idea of parentless society, the children are all belong to society, to the government. Again, it's that whole forging of AI or robot and human. There's no parents there. There's no gender there. You know, they want to get us okay with this whole idea of, you know, intercourse with robots. You know, so why not say it's no problem with, you know, well, they start off with homosexuality, and then you go to the idea of, well, transgenderism. So you got the fusion of male and female. Next is going to be, they're already talking about children have, you know, they are autonomous. There's nothing wrong with age. There's no age difference in between female children and adult. Let them, you know, have intercourse and things. That's going to be the next thing. Animals. It's coming, and people just don't want to see it. And it always takes me back to when Dennis Prager was on Bill Maher's show many years ago. I think it was like 10 years ago. And he was talking to them, telling them, you know, the left talks about men can menstruate. Right. And they were looking at him. There was a panel of leftists. We're like, what are you talking about? You've lost it, man. Men can't menstruate. Here we are today. This is something they're pushing. Our own VP candidate, for Kamala's VP candidate, is trying to put tampons in the men's bathroom.
Yeah. It is God's first commandment. A lot of people forget the first commandment, which was be fruitful and multiply. A lot of what you see in the left is absolutely contrary to life, okay, and the perpetuation of it. All right. This whole robot SEX doll, okay, is one of those things. Can you imagine if that thing malfunctioned? But I digress. It's just, you know, I mean, can you imagine?
It's like anybody who wants to use that, I hope it does malfunction right when it's down below, and they would probably never want to use a robot again.
They may not ever be able to use a robot ever again. Yeah. So, you know, in many ways, the left is just a death cult. Okay. They don't even want you to be able to protect yourself and your family from the growing crime problem in America. And someone will say, oh, no, the crime's going down. No, it isn't. Localities are not reporting to the FBI. Exactly. So you got skewed statistics. Okay. There's no way I'm going to wake up every morning and open Fox Baltimore's news site and see 3 or 4 murders and a shooting, and you're going to tell me crime is going down. No, you're not reporting it, is what's going on.
Yeah. I do want to acknowledge some of our super chats here. All right. Thank you guys so much. Let's see here. We have Vita with a $2 super chat. Says 80% of Planned Parenthood is in urban areas. Yeah, unfortunately, the Black community has been used as a tool for the left, and they are falling for it hook, line, and sinker. We find this specifically because of the idea of slavery in the United States. They've used that and weaponized it as a sort of way to make people emotional and then prey on their votes. So we see this every election. They continue to push, this, they're going to put you back in chains. They're going to take away your rights to vote. And it's not even based in fact, but we know they use it.
Right. And they are Blacks. It turns out we've been the proving ground for a technique that they're now rolling out through other constituencies. Like with abortion rights, for example, you know what the percentage of women in America is that got abortions last year? Take a guess. I just want to see what y'all think. What's the percentage?
I think it's less than 10%.
It's 0.5%.
Oh, how much?
It's 0.5% of the female.
That's way
population.
less than 10%. Yeah.
Right. But if you listen to the narrative, you think it's 50%. Okay. Right. It's not even this huge issue, but it's something that they can get your emotions going over. Just like they used, Jim Crow and slavery for us. Oh, they're going to put y'all back in chains. Okay. Not with the Second Amendment, they ain't. Okay. Which we were deprived of when we were in that condition as a people. But they're rolling that out, that emotionalism. They're rolling that out across constituencies because it works so well with us.
Yeah. Sadly it does.
Yeah.
Kevin Walker with the $5 super chat says, love the channel. If you want to see the future of America, look at Dalton, Illinois, under their super mayor, Tiffany Henyard. And we know, Tyrone, you have been doing some great reporting on Tiffany Henyard on your channel, Soldiers of Finance.
Is she in jail yet?
We got a video coming out tomorrow afternoon. That woman is a trip. But check us out on Soldiers of Finance. We cover Tiffany Henyard extensively.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And another super chat here. URSC with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you so much. Thank you. And then another one for the $1.99 super chat. Thank you. Certainly appreciate you there. Thank you so much. And I did see someone says it's not true about Tim Walz and the tampons. So, I mean, that's just a nickname we had kind of given him, but it is actually true in actuality. He actually signed an executive order, I believe it was last year, protecting access to gender transition drugs and surgeries for minors. He also pushed forward a bill that put tampons in bathrooms, female bathrooms. And we know this well. They're doing the same thing here in Maryland. So, that's actually true. And if you think of the actions of this bill, it's true. So you guys, I mean, certainly I appreciate the fact checking and everything, but I kind of understand why a lot of people think this stuff it's so bizarre. Right. It's so sensational that you would think this stuff is not happening. And, but when you do the research, you realize, oh my God, this stuff is happening. Just like Kamala Harris using actors in her campaign. Right. Take a look at this. This is clip number 1.
Now, Kamala Harris and Tim Walz have been accused of deliberate misinformation. They've released a political ad that claims to depict 2 former Trump voters who live in Pennsylvania and who have switched to Team Kamala after the horrors of January 6th. But this pair of farmers shown in the ad appear to, in fact, be 2 actors, Robert Lang and Christina Chadwick, and they have an extensive history of donating to the Democrats and leftist causes dating back to at least 2016. For a party that talks endlessly about the dangers of disinformation and misinformation, they engage in plenty of it.
Yeah, so this is great investigative journalism by the journalists that went and found that out. I think it's another illustration of just what is a very synthetic campaign and a very synthetic candidate, where everything is manufactured, from her anointment after Biden was pushed out to just the way the campaign is being run and very limited media, as we just discussed, and then creating sort of these narratives, or almost fictional narratives, of these two Trump supporters who turned, supposedly in this case, and it turns out they're Democrat actors. You can't make this stuff up, and it's pretty brazen. But the question, of course, is, will these antics make it into the mainstream or not, with a media that's very favorable to her? But to the extent that it does, I do think things like this are damaging, because it just goes to that point that she's not a very authentic candidate.
Wow. I mean, this is terrible. What are your thoughts on this, Shelley?
We've said many times, these people, the left, they don't really live in reality. They don't want to deal with reality, dealing with real people who have real challenges. They want to be above and away from all of that. They are elitists. They literally think as low as you can of your average human beings, if you will. They don't think anything of them. So doing something like this is nothing to them. They don't even think of it in the same way that we are.
Yeah, I mean, you would think in this environment or this age with social media, where information is literally at the fingertips of every American, this stuff would not be able to be pulled off. But it looks like she's actually pulling it off. I mean, I pray she's not, but what are your thoughts on this, Tyrone?
Well, first of all, I grew up in a middle-class household, and my neighbor was a small business owner. Okay. Look, this is just another sign of their desperation. You mean to tell me, with all that money you got coming through that campaign, you couldn't find two people, because they are out there, two genuine people who said, well, we voted for Trump last time, we're going to vote for you this time. You couldn't find it? You couldn't find two Black people to say that? All right. So that should, look, on the Soldiers of Finance community page, as we speak, I have a poll up. Okay. I would encourage folk to go to the community page after they're finished with this show. And the poll question asks, if the election were tomorrow, who would you vote for? Would you vote for President Camacho from the movie Idiocracy, or would you vote for Kamala Harris? And let's see here. Right now, President Camacho is leading Kamala Harris 87 to 13%. Okay. So this woman is desperate. This woman is, if you're out there and you really genuinely want to vote for Kamala, go ahead and give her 14% to Camacho's 86 on our poll.
Wow. And well, maybe when people see our interview, she did a recent interview on, I believe it was called All the Smoke podcast.
Oh, yeah.
Which has become one of the most recognizable athlete-led podcasts with Matt Barnes and Steven Jackson. I think they were former NBA players, and it's gotten a lot of press because, again, there's no there. Take a look at this. This is the clip where she's talking about the economy, clip 6.
Going from a show to a whole entire company, what is your economic plan moving forward for people who are living paycheck to paycheck and struggling for groceries and rent and homeowners?
So look, I grew up, so my sister and I were raised by our mother. We lived for a long time in an apartment on top of a child care center. That child care center was actually owned by a woman who lived 2 doors down from us, Mrs. Shelton, who was, by all of our accounts and feelings, our second mother. She helped raise us. And so she was a small business owner. So I'll start with the small business, and congratulations on what you guys have done. I, from a child, knew who our small business owners are, right? I mean, you're business leaders, but you're also civic leaders. You take seriously your voice and how you can mentor, how you can grow, right? Communities and the sense of communities. I love our small businesses. And so a lot of my work in terms of building and growing the economy has focused on small businesses. And my vision overall is we need to build an opportunity economy in which we increase opportunity for all, including small business owners. So a lot of my work, even in the Senate, was about increasing access to capital through our small businesses and in particular through our community banks. So I've been responsible for billions of dollars more now going into our community banks because they're in the community and then they know who's in the community and where the talent is and who's doing good in the community, what the community wants. And so part of my plan as president.
What? You were also the border czar and also the broadband czar.
That didn't get connected. The broadband didn't get connected. The border is still open wide. We know now from last week, almost 1 million hardened criminals roaming the streets of the United States. What businesses did she support? Did she just say that you can't start a business with $5,000? How she just demeaned and was condescending to those small businesses who actually start in their homes with less than $5,000.
Absolutely. We started our businesses 20 years ago with a hell of a whole lot less than $5,000. Listen, if I'm her campaign manager, the first thing I'm doing is I'm going to say, hey, look, Kamala, this is a copy of Roget's Thesaurus. I want you to take a few days off and just read it. Come up with, like, we got the English language is so full of words. You can use multiple words, like the community thing you did. You stayed on community too long. I've never seen someone in politics that was so convinced that they were so profound while saying absolutely nothing. She is the Oswald Bates. If you remember in Living Colors, Educated Convict, she is the Oswald Bates of national politics.
Yeah. Shelley, what are your thoughts on this?
I was going to echo what Tyrone said. I was going to say she's the living proof or version of Shakespeare. Sound and fury signifying nothing. That's exactly what she is. I mean, this is why I want Donald Trump to debate her again. I do. I want them to have a second debate because she is all recorded, if you will, scripted. All she has are these talking points that she has memorized. I mean, I hope she did well on her SAT and sitting for her JD boards, her law board, because she has a really good memory. She can remember a script. So I do want to debate her.
I think she might have an earpiece in.
She very well may. But I know one thing. I'm sick of hearing about her family.
I am too.
I don't care. I don't care about your auntie. I don't care about the lady down the street who watched you. I don't care about any of them.
Right.
Just answer the freaking question.
Right. And I think and now she was living above a child care center last week. I think it was a cheesesteak shop. I mean, all of these details are like so flexible.
Right. Who cares? We don't care.
Right.
Answer the question. It's so annoying. And then it's annoying that she doesn't answer the question straight up. And then just the way she does it. I love small business owners. I love small business.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, it's so annoying. And here she, and I don't understand why somebody doesn't like correct her. I mean, just like stop you right there. I already know about you living above the place and all this type of stuff. Let's get to the meat and potatoes of the question. But
the media. I don't understand why these people, these independent, I guess they're independent podcasters or whatever. Why don't they ask deeper questions? Why? Because they are afraid. They don't want to get beat up by the media. They don't want people to unsubscribe from their channel. And that's what they are afraid, that they're walking on eggshells around.
They're pawns.
They're
part of her whole the Democrat machine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And listen, I challenged what's his name, Joe Scarborough, when you and I did the show a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
AJ, I still haven't heard from Joe on that boxing match. I challenged him to. But listen, Kamala Harris, you can come on Soldiers of Finance. I will treat you with the respect that you deserve as a vice president of the United States. However, I am going to ask you some tough questions, okay? I will do that. So you have an open invitation to come and speak to every last one of my 12,000 subscribers. Okay.
Tyrone, Tyrone, you don't even have to go deep with her. You know, one simple question you can ask her and it will stump her. When she gives her answer, all you have to do is say, okay, Vice President, how will you do that?
Right.
Just a simple how.
Right.
Who, what, when, where, why, and how. She
Right.
wants to be stumped.
And why aren't you doing it now? Because Kamala, all of these, you said that you could lower inflation. Now, if you do that right now, you guarantee that you will be the president. So why don't you do it now?
Right. Right. And for all you who don't know who Oswald Bates is, take a look here.
The flatulation of the matter by transmitting the effervescence of the Indonesian proximity in order to further segregate the crux of my venereal infection. If I may retain my liquids here for one moment, I'd like to continue the redundance of my quote-unquote intestinal tract, see, because to preclude on the issue of world domination would only circumcise the revelation that it reflects the aphrodisiac symptoms which now perpetrates the Jericho's activation. So, do not misinterpret the chauvinistic.
Give to the United Negro Scholarship Fund.
Yeah,
that's her.
Yeah, that's her. I'd rather listen to him, though.
Right.
I'd rather listen to him.
Yeah, because at least you can laugh with him. With her, you just cry.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, yeah. And here she is again talking about race. Clip 8.
Yeah.
You've always been secure in your identity, who you are, but what do you feel or what do you think when you hear people kind of questioning just the fabric of who you are?
Well, one, I don't listen to it.
Okay.
I'm really clear about who I am, and if anybody else is not, they need to go through their own level of therapy. That's not my issue.
Their issues, right?
My mother was very clear. She was raising 2 black girls to be 2 proud black women, and it was never a question. You know, it's funny because over the years, journalists, some, not most, will want to talk about it. And I say, okay, if you want to have this conversation, I'm prepared to have it, but sit down and get comfortable for a few hours. If you want to start talking about race in America, you want to talk about the 1/8 rule?
A drop.
You want to talk about what it means in terms of who you are perceived to be and the impact that can have on the rest of your life, regardless of who you actually are in terms of your God-given capacity and the rights that you have and should have. So, you know, I don't mess with that. I think that's other people trying to figure some stuff out that and they
got some issues.
They got to deal with it themselves.
Girl, Candace Owens found your grandmother.
This
She
is
found your
what-
grandmother.
Right. And this is what would happen on Soldier Finance interview. So your Indian mother raised
2 black
girls. Is that right? Okay.
Yeah, right.
And then she starts out with, I know who I am. She reminded me of Robert Downey Jr. in Tropic Thunder. I know who I am. You know, look, this woman, if she got it, it would be an entertaining spiral down the drain for the country. It would at least be somewhat entertaining.
I'd be crying. I would cry.
Yeah, this is pathetic. First of all, she's lying because she wants people to challenge her race, her ethnicity, because this is what she really works up for. So this is her best performance. You know, girl, bye. Go out. You know, first she's in the streets, and now she's ready. You know, that's something she don't worry about the race stuff. That every chance she gets, she wants you to know that her mother raised 2 black girls. Your mother wasn't even black herself.
So how did this look? Did your mother have the hot comb in the gas range and was
and
good
the hot
times
sauce in her
playing?
purse, like click,
Right. How did it look for your Indian mama to raise 2 black girls?
It's
wait a minute. What did Martin say? I'm sorry. Martin said, if you can't use my comb, you can't bring her home.
I only that, but again, it wouldn't even be about race if it wasn't for her. Now, in the beginning of the campaign, all she wanted to do is talk about race. Even got old Joe Biden on it when in the initial election. What do you call it? The election. Remember the debate.
Oh, debate.
When she called
when they were debating when she was debating.
Right.
Okay.
And then when she decided to run, or she decided to take over his race, in the beginning, everything was about her being a Black woman, and she changed her accent and all this type of stuff. Now, because Candace Owens is on that ass.
Yeah.
See, you don't want nobody to talk about race. Do you really want to talk about race? You got 3 hours to talk about race because Candace Owens done found her white mama, her white grandmama.
Right.
You know, so now they don't want to talk about race. In the first interview she did with CNN's Dana Dumbass Bash, she wouldn't talk. She said, nothing. I got nothing to say about race.
Right.
Now she don't want to talk about it.
Right. And look, keep in mind, talking about Candace Owens, as far as I understand in following this timeline, this genealogy, it's some question that the father, Donald Harris, may not even be her father, because the way Candace is putting it out, it's questionable. There's a birth certificate that says Donald Harris died as a baby, so it's all questionable right now. I mean, again, I'm not saying that's the case, but I'm just following Candace's genealogy, and she brings in these questions that it's possible but not definitive.
Yeah, I mean the whole thing. I mean, I'm going. Kamala effed up. Because she messed around. I guess outside of Kanye, it's Janet Jackson is one of Candace Owens, people she loved. And when Kamala came for Janet, and everybody started coming for Janet, Candace was like, "No, you won't." That's right. No, you won't. And now she like a dog with a bone. She has dedicated her whole new podcast for researching Candyland, as Tyrone said, Candyland Kamala's whole identity. Okay,
you better leave Janet and Michael alone.
Grandmother. She has found her white grandmother, and she is going to continue to pound that nail with the hammer until it goes through
a dog with a bone. Candace is like a dog with a bone.
The shame of it is, she didn't even have to do that.
No,
she didn't even have to try to, manufacture this, racial component. No. This woman stood before Joe Biden and was proclaimed, after he administered the oath for her to go into the Senate. They all said, "Oh, well, welcome to the Senate. You're the first Indian American to be." And she never said, "Hey, wait a minute, I'm actually Black." She just smiled and shook her head and accepted that identity. Okay, so now you stick with that.
Right. She's a grifting liar.
She is.
And these Black people go ahead and fall for it. I hope they're not.
Look, the Black baby boomers, and I've had this discussion with a lot of them. I used to give them a pass. I used to say, well, you remember the Black-only water fountain. But I stopped doing that, because you know what has happened since then? A Black president, all kinds of Black billionaires. They got a brother or a sister orbiting the Earth and the space station at all times. Okay. So we have overcome. All right. And so I do not give these baby boomers a pass anymore. They are holding us back with their trauma that they experienced because someone called them the N-word 50 years ago. Okay. Sorry. I've had enough.
Right. Yeah. You're never going to eradicate racism.
Right.
And there are some people that it's an evil that some people will just never get past.
Right.
Or bias or discrimination. You're never going to get over that. But we have tools within the law, within rules and guidelines, within jobs and things like that, where if it is found that someone has discriminated against you and there has been some type of harm done, whether it's monetarily, physically, I mean, you have hate crimes, all kinds of stuff, there are consequences for it. There are consequences. And this is what we fought for. This is what the civil rights were for, to get it codified into law that if some harm has been put in place based on race, you will face consequences.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, I don't know what more. You can't change people's hearts and minds.
Nope.
And there's plenty of black people who don't like white people.
There's plenty of black people who don't like black people.
Right. Right.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so look, we all have our idiosyncrasies.
Right. And truth be told, again, I don't know what's in everybody's heart and mind, like you said, but I highly suspect, that 9 out of 10 white people are not going around thinking about how they can be racist, if you will, to a black person.
Right. The fact of the matter is, ain't nobody thinking about us. Okay. People are getting up trying to figure out how in the hell they're going to feed their families. All right.
Exactly.
There is no daily conference call on how we're going to oppress black people today. All right. And look, we better wake up, because electorally, we're about to be irrelevant. I've said that many times before. Our path as, a community needs to be the same path that the Asians have figured out, the Hispanics have figured out, and the Jews have figured out. And that is one of economic independence.
Right.
And sure, we got all these symbols. Okay. Maxine Waters, she's a symbol that ain't doing nothing for the black community, never has and never will. Forget all that. Okay. We need to be able to go into these halls of Congress and talk to anybody about our economic growth. Okay. Because that is what these presidential candidates talk to the Jews, the homosexuals, the Hispanics, the Asians. They talk about money. When they come into a black church, they put on the Negro affect, hum a few bars of, nearer my God to thee. And what do we get for it? Absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And don't forget the Nigerians, the Ghanaians, Africans come over here and they wreck shop. They are doing well. They are doing well.
I'm not sure if this is still the case, but I believe it is. The Nigerians represent the highest educated demographic in America. The Indians have cornered the market on the motel industry in America. In fact, a hedge fund just sold out to an Indian company because they got that industry locked up. Okay.
May I say?
And we've been here 400 years. Okay.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. I do want to acknowledge our super chatters here. Thank you guys so much. We certainly appreciate you. Vita again. Oh my gosh. Thank you, Vita. Thank you tonight with the $10 super chat. She says in her DNC speech, she said she learned how to cook gumbo from somebody who is not her family, but like her family. How did busing affect her when she grew up in Canada? That's
all like busing.
Yeah, she was. She did say she was.
She did say she was.
In Canada, so I don't know. Chadwick with the $5 super chat. Thank you so much. Says this chick has been more cultures, more races, and had more accents in the last month and a half than anybody I've seen in my entire life. Absolutely, yeah. Vita, yes, Vita with the $2 super chat says at the DNC, did anyone say she was black? I wait. Right. Right, Vita.
Thank you, Vita.
Says Biden Harris took away DNA testing at the border.
Yeah.
They also took away COVID testing. Mandates. They didn't mandate people to get COVID tests that were coming in over the border.
Nope.
Pamela Hardy with the $10. Pamela. Thank you. Yes, says thanks for your common sense coverage on so many issues. We appreciate you, Pamela. Thank you. Kevin Walker with the $5 super chat says, this woman is so delusional. She went to the border with 62,000 Tiffany necklace on. 62,000.
Yes, she did.
Wow.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yes, she did.
Thank you so much, Jen McMahon with the $4.99 super chat. Says, always remember to hear the phonetic lie in politicians, especially when it's coming from the left in 2024. Absolutely. Yep. And I think we have one more here. Vita, she says 80% of Planned Parenthood is in urban areas. We know that right here in Baltimore City. I don't know what's more, the Planned Parenthoods or the liquor stores.
Yeah.
Oops, busing. Yep.
We got it. Yep, Vita. Thank you,
Vita. This is no longer pop and politics. This is the Vita show. That's right. Thank you, Vita. Thank you so much for your super chats. All right, and finally, I know we're running out of time, but I did want to get to this, guys. We may be about to enter World War III. It's actually looking like more reality than ever before. Take a look at this. This is clip 4.
All right, Mike and Eric, for more on this now, let's bring in former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett. Mr. Bennett, thank you very much for joining us here. First of all, Iran says this represents a serious escalation and changes the rules of the game. So do you anticipate a consequential response from Iran, or did Israel send a strong message to Iran to stop while you can?
Well, our actions send the message. I think what we've seen over the past few hours is that Israel's iron fist can reach anywhere in the Middle East. And I think the mullahs in Tehran see it. And I think they're now understanding that if you mess with the Jewish state, we hit back powerfully, and we will no longer tolerate anyone who's threatening our people.
Okay, meanwhile, Nasrallah is dead. So I ask you, can a decapitated Hezbollah still forge a formidable fight? Also, is another idea of ground incursion in Lebanon imminent, or is there a diplomatic off-ramp?
Well, I want to clarify what our objective is. Our objective is not only a ceasefire, only for Hezbollah to recuperate. Right now, Hezbollah is temporarily paralyzed, almost paralyzed. We hit them bad. We killed their CEO, Nasrallah. We killed their board of directors. We killed their executive management. And whoever conducted the pager attack also took out much of their mid-level management. So right now, Hezbollah is in shambles, but that is temporary. If we let up, then they will ultimately be able to recover and threaten our northern citizens again. I want to point out, for the past 35 years, they've been making our lives hell. They've killed scores of Israelis. They killed my best friend. Over the past year, they killed dozens of Israelis, including 12 children playing soccer. So what we need to set as an objective is to permanently remove the threat of Hezbollah in the north.
So does that mean a ground incursion is going to be a part of that maneuver?
That's a possibility.
Wow. So you heard it, Tyrone. They want to permanently remove Hezbollah from the north. Do you think that's the correct way to go, the correct move?
Well, they have definitely dealt them a blow. And to the extent that they can go ahead and decapitate Hezbollah, I think it's going to be better for everyone involved, including those people in Gaza. I think that that's not the flashpoint, though, that we could be looking at a possible World War III. The conflict in Ukraine, I think that's the potential flashpoint. I think that the issue that Israel is dealing with right now, you can see Hezbollah, they're more of a guerrilla type of organization. They don't have the chops to bring this up to a full-scale global conflict. There's no monetary interest involved for China to maybe play a part. So I think that we are flirting with World War III, but I think the flashpoint is definitely revolving around Ukraine/Russia.
All right. Yeah. Shelley, what are your thoughts here? And before you comment, I do want to say we just caught Kamala Harris in another lie. Remember when, I can't remember if this was an interview or if she said this during the debate. She said not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in combat zone. And we just heard them say 40,000 troops spread across the region. Absolutely. So this woman is just a liar. And the news media fails to point out when she lies. They fail to fact check her every time. Shelley, what are your thoughts on this incursion?
Well, and I commented, I think that I said that we are at the beginning, if you will, the battles before the actual war of World War III. Taking into consideration what Tyrone said, we have Ukraine, we certainly have the Israel, basically fighting for their survival on all fronts of that country, if you will, from the southern tip to the northern tip and the western bank. So Israel is literally surrounded by people and countries who want to take it out. So then if you add in on our continent or in our half of the hemisphere, we have our borders are open. Then I'm going to add this global arch of, again, that we talked about earlier with the UN wanting to make us defenseless, if you will. So I'm just adding up all of these not little parts, adding up all of these parts to say that from a historical perspective, maybe 25, 30 years from now, we'll look back and say that this was the start of World War III.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in agreement. I mean, I just think about if it was us and we were surrounded by enemies who were continuing to make advances on the United States, I'd want to push back if I had the means. I would. So like you all said already, I don't know how this is going to develop. I do believe the Ukraine incursion is maybe a larger issue, especially where we're concerned. But I mean, again, if something does break out in the Middle East, Israel is really our only ally to stop them from encroaching or moving forward in that region and out of it. So I don't really know. I just continue to pray that God's will be done in that region and within the United States. So I do.
You've got a super chatter that made an excellent point.
Oh, yeah. Let me
one of the two.
Okay, yeah, let's acknowledge the super chatters. Hail Mary says, I believe Trump suggested to do it and get it over quickly. Trump doesn't want any wars in 2025. Thank you for that $5 super chat, Hail Mary. Yeah, what were you saying? Oh, Tyra. Okay.
And that's key, because that shows you that even Israel believes that Trump's going to win. Otherwise, because Trump has said, he said publicly, they need to wrap it up. He has said that. So they believe he's going to win. Yeah.
Well, I hope so. We had another new member, I believe it was there.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you so much. Jennifer, welcome to the Freedom Seekers Club. She just joined our club here. So this is the Freedom Seekers Club. They have special emojis you can use. We also provide additional perks, such as additional content only for members and several other things. So thank you so much for joining and for your support. All right, guys. Well, that does it for us tonight. We talked about a lot of topics. One thing I encourage you guys to do is go back through our channel. Just last week, I think it was the latest video published, we talked about understanding the communist agenda. Please watch that and share it, because a lot of people don't realize all of these things that they are pushing in America and across the globe is due to communism. Communism and Marxism are really the impetus to many of these things. And so if we understand that, then we will be able to see what's going on further with it. Do want to acknowledge another super chatter here. So let's see here. We have
Jen McMahon.
LAPD says, do you think these elites will burn it down if they lose? Oh, absolutely. I certainly do. What about you all?
Yeah. They'll certainly attempt to. Someone asked me, oh, what are you going to do when Kamala Harris wins? I said, well, the next day I'm going to get up and I'm going to do pretty much the same thing I did the day before, which is, work. And what do you suggest? I'm an emotionally stable person. I'm not going to lose my mind but I said, I know you will, though. If Trump wins, you will.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. We talked about this last week, the idea of these leftists and how they push this hysteria on their own children. You know, CNN did a whole documentary on it, how these leftist children are afraid of people on the right. And it's irrational fear. But the right is not. Those children were not acting the same way as these ones on the left. And we saw it when Trump got elected in 2016. And you had kids crying, didn't want to go to school, and all this type of stuff. It's ridiculous. And you know what? It's black folk that do it too. Black folk got these children scared to death.
Yes, they do.
Stuff they shouldn't even be afraid of. The gun, the police, all kinds of stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, I remember when Ronald Reagan was elected, and my grandfather, like I told, my family was very politically involved. And so we heard them talking about, oh, we're not voting for Reagan. We hear them have conversations. So when Reagan won, me and my brother came home from school, and we literally thought that Reagan, I don't know what we thought, he was going to come to the house and kick our asses the way they had talked about it. But we said, so what happens now? And they were like, oh, nothing. We're like, y'all made such a big deal out of it. We were afraid of Reagan, right? But they were like, oh, no, he's just the president. The other guy, other guy didn't win. So life goes on,
Absolutely. And it's really shameful because, Black folk are supposed to be so religious. They're going to church and all this type of stuff. And, the Bible talks about not to fear these things. We're not even supposed to be of this world. We're not supposed to be, dependent solely on the government and the idea of what president is in office is going to really have such a terrible, thing over our lives. And you see them going crazy over this stuff, going crazy. So it's ridiculous. It really is. All right. Well, that does it for us tonight, guys. Thank you so much for your super chats, for your donations, and for watching. Check us out tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow night to cover the debate, the vice presidential debate between Tim Walz and JD Vance. We are going to be there. You can stream it right here. We're going to be talking about it live, giving feedback on the debate. So you can check with us. I believe it starts at 9:00. We'll probably start 30 minutes prior to give our predictions. And so definitely come back here tomorrow night to check us out with our debate coverage. Vita, thank you so much. Isaiah Washington was not welcome on Grey's Anatomy and was blackballed because him and his wife would not perform the wife swap. Yeah.
Okay.
About that. Yeah, I used to watch it. I stopped watching Grey's Anatomy just because of it. So, and Grey used to get on my nerves. Yes, but again, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time.
Wait a minute, KJ. I'm sorry. We did have one more super chat. We had Jen McMahon.
Oh, Jen McMahon.
She said vote no on World War III in 2004. Okay.
Oh, she meant say
2024, I guess.
2024. Yeah, absolutely. Vote no for World War III. And check us out. I know we'll be back tomorrow night. We do have additional shows here on our channel here. Yep, we got Just the Guys that'll air on Thursday nights. Tyrone is one of those guys. We also have the All-American Talk Show. Certainly, that's really good, guys, to check out for up-to-date information and the breakdown on the issues. And you have my channel, KJ at Christian Conservative. So that gives you a breakdown of the politics and pop culture from a biblical point of view. So definitely check me out there and all of our channels. And of course, Soldiers of Finance.
And we got another super chatter.
Oh, wow. Kat Saunders, the $9.99 super chat says Ezekiel 38. That battle is on the rise. Russia will be eager of that. Oh, okay. All right.
We gotta go, but we gotta go. But last thing, we gotta mention our Informed Voters event coming up. October.
Yes, we do, guys. If you are local to Baltimore, or if you're not, if you want to come in and see us, we are having a Informed Voter Series. So we are inviting people, speakers from all over the country to come in and talk about different topics, different issues that affect us. And they're going to talk about it with conservative solutions. Our keynote of the night is Chad O. Jackson. Yes, he will be in Baltimore. Chad O. Jackson, you may know him from his work on
His show, Chad O. Jackson.
Chad O. Jackson, but he also did the Tom's
Uncle Tom
the Uncle Tom documentary. Uncle Tom 1 and 2, I believe. So definitely it's going to be a great time. We also have Dave Anderson. He's the business bully. He's going to talk about entrepreneurship.
And we got some more coming.
Yes, and we have many more. So definitely going to Eventbrite. You can do a search for Informed Voter Power Series. The link is also on our website and on our social media where you can sign up, get your tickets. We're going to have food. We're going to have drinks, music. Oh my gosh, beautiful venue. It's going to be a great time. So if you are in Baltimore or you want to come see us, we will all be there. Check us out. All right, so that does it for us tonight. Until next time, count your blessings and live a life of purpose. Good night.
Good night.